Hi, everybody. Hi, Jensen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is it recording already?
It is. It starts automatically.
You can't pause it?
I cannot.
I think you can.
I could pause the share. It's the pause recording. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Multiple languages, the beauty of modern technology to be able to have different rooms for different languages. So we're gonna get started with the presentation. I just want to remind folks of a couple things before we get started. First of all, this is going to be recorded, so this will give you an opportunity if you missed anything or you want to share with neighbors, relatives, and others. This will be available to rewatch. I also wanted to let folks know that we will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. We do have an hour and a half, and we have a lot of time to answer questions that people may have. And those you can submit those through the Q&A feature on this webinar, and we'll be able to pose questions to our different panelists. And we know that people submitted questions ahead of time as well, and we'll be asking some of those. And so we'll try to get to as many of the questions we can. If there are additional questions that you might have, you can always submit them to us in multiple ways. You can email me or any member of this team so that we can make sure we answer every question you have, as I know that many folks want as much information as they can about our school system as they're making a very important choice in the lives of their children and families. So with that, again, I'm Steve Zreich, Superintendent of Schools. I would like to introduce the members of our wonderful team here in the Salem Public Schools. And so I'm going to go through the different members that are here so you know who they are, and they should have their name and title so that you don't have to memorize. We won't be giving you a quiz of this Brady Bunch like screen here. So want to start by introducing our Assistant Director of Food Services, Michaela Short. So Michaela, do you want to just wave your hand so folks know who you are? The principal at Bates Elementary School, Miss Sue Smith. Our Bentley School principal, Liz Rogers. The principal of Carlton Elementary School, Miss Lauren Weaver. Let's see, our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Engagement, who works very closely with families, Miss Laura Assad. Our Director of Extended Academics and Enrichment Services, which is the person that can answer a lot of your questions about after-school programs, is Taylor McDonald. Our Director of Health Services is Jane Morrissey. Our Director of Multilingual Learner Education is Mr. Andre Fonseca. Our Director of Multi-Tiered Support Systems, Wraparound Supports for Students, Mental Health Supports is Mia Riccio. Our principal at the Early Childhood Center is Leanne Smith. Okay. Our Executive Director of Academics is Dr. Kim Talbot. Our Executive Director of Instructional Technologies is Mr. Mark LeBlanc. Our Executive Director of Special Education, there might be some special education questions here tonight, is Miss Jen Doucette Lee. Okay, the principal at the Horace Mann Laboratory School is Miss Jill Tully. Our Deputy Superintendent, who will be presenting alongside with me this evening, is Miss Kate Carboni. The principal at Saltonstall Elementary School is Miss Beth Ann Jellison. The principal at Witchcraft Heights Elementary School is Miss Sue Carmona. And with our parent, one of the leads in our Parent Information Center is Miss Yadi Acevedo. And I think I got everybody here. Did I miss anybody? Okay. And then obviously the other people you see on the screens are our interpreters for this evening. All right, so welcome again. We're going to get started here. And if we could get the slides back on. Okay. All right, you can go to the next slide. All right, so again, as we're speaking here tonight, if you have questions, please feel free. They're already starting to come into the chat or in the question and answer portion of the webinar. So feel free. Feel free to ask your questions, and we'll get to them at some point this evening if they are not answered in our presentation. Okay. So first of all, I want to welcome you all to the Salem Public Schools family. We want to thank you for your interest in our school system. We know that families have many options when they're considering their child's education, and we're very pleased that you're interested in learning more about our system and everything that we have to offer. We believe that we're a district on the move, and this is an exciting time to join our growing system of schools. And you're going to learn a lot more about that tonight. In the Salem Public Schools, we believe that all students have the right to a safe, welcoming, affirming, and equitable educational environment where they can learn, grow, and excel. We recognize every student's potential and give them opportunities to share their voices, their stories, and talents through our student-centered programming and dynamic offerings. We nurture our students to become independent learners who can achieve at or above grade level throughout their time in our schools and position them to graduate ready for success in college and/or careers. And we do this by trying to strike the right balance between
Nós fazemos isso tentando atingir o equilíbrio correto.
I'll repeat that again. We do this by trying to strike the right balance between academic preparation, character education, and growing and developing the whole child. We're driven, as you can see on the screen here, by three core values: the values of equity, belonging, and opportunity. And I'm just going to read them because they're so important to the work that we do as a system. Around equity, we believe in promoting social justice to ensure an inclusive school community where all members are empowered and engaged. With belonging, we believe all members of our community are valued and that our relationships are built on empathy and respect. And with opportunity, we believe strongly that all students should receive as personalized an educational experience as possible so that they can find academic success, find joy in their learning, and have multiple choices for their post-secondary plans. Ultimately, we want all students, regardless of their background, circumstances, or learning profile, to have access to an exemplary experience where they feel deeply connected, respected, and valued. So let me tell you a little more about the exciting things that are happening in our schools right now. We have a brand new strategic plan that just launched this fall that was well informed by stakeholders and is driving our work for the next 3 years and is focused on 4 high leverage priorities. The first is to elevate learning. We're committed to building and maintaining a district-wide culture of universally high academic expectations for every learner. We're committed to, second priority is our commitment to empowering educators, making the Salem Public Schools an inclusive district where student-centered, innovative, and highly effective educators want to work, grow, and stay. We want to center belonging, as we talked about in our values, for students and families, building joyful, welcoming, and supportive school communities. And finally, we're committed to strengthening our foundation, developing consistent, reliable systems and structures to disrupt inequities and support the work of the district. Those 4 priorities will drive our work over the next 3 years in the system. But I want to give you some more specifics about why this is a great time to join our school system. And these are just some of the highlights that I want to point to. In the last few years, we've doubled the number of full-day free pre-K seats across our school system. And we plan to add a dual language pre-K program next year, which you'll hear more about today. So even though the state announced universal pre-K in gateway cities over the next 2 years, Salem was at the forefront of that work. And you'll hear more about our pre-K programs tonight, as well as our kindergarten programs. We have strengthened and expanded counseling and emotional support for students by leveraging what is among the best ratios in any public schools of counselors to students, as well as introduce new telemental health partnerships so that all students can get the supports, all students and families can get the supports that they need. We've expanded our career technical and early college programming based on demand so that more of our students are graduating with stronger choices for college and or career options. So they really have a choice of what they want to enter, career or college. We're in the process, very exciting, of building a new state-of-the-art secondary school, either a grade 7 to 12 school or a grade 9 to 12 school at the Salem High School site. We've got a building committee that is in the process of planning for that new facility and will be opening. We don't know the exact date, but I hope within the next 5, 6, at most 7 years. And then through a launch of a pilot program, we're in the midst of powerful conversations about what genuine engagement looks like or needs to look like at the middle school level so that students feel more connected and inspired by their learning. And finally, and by no means is this an exhaustive list, we have a number of opportunities for families to get involved in shaping district practices as part of school site councils, parent-teacher organizations, a district parent advisory group, wellness committees focused on supporting physical health, food and nutrition, mental health, and social emotional learning, and safety and wellness of our LGBTQ plus community. In closing, please take the time to visit as many schools as possible. Speak with families who are already enrolled in our schools and ask as many questions as necessary to determine which school is the best match and fit for your child. Families may list 3 preferences when preparing to enroll in the district. And I'm confident that you will discover schools that are perfectly suited to your child's personality and learning style. It always works out because parents know their child best and know what the best match and fit is for their child. And so we want to welcome you to the Salem Public Schools. And on behalf of the entire district, we look forward to partnering with you to ensure that your child receives an exemplary educational experience in the Salem Public Schools. So the next slide, we're going to get into some more specifics and begin to answer, I think, many of the questions that you may be coming to this Zoom here tonight with. Next slide, please. There we go. So just want to share a little bit about the landscape of our programming in the Salem Public Schools. So we have programs for 3-year-olds and the only place we have programs for 3-year-olds is at our Early Childhood Center. We have minimal seats. We do have seats for students on IEPs that are 3 years old, and we have some seats for the general public as well for 3-year-olds at the ECC. And then in pre-kindergarten programs, we have many more seats. We have between around 180 seats for pre-K programs at 4 different locations. Right now it's 3, but we're adding a 4th. So Early Childhood Center has pre-K seats. Bates has pre-K classrooms. Horace Mann currently has pre-K classrooms, and Bentley will have a new dual language pre-K next year. And those programs are for students who turn 4 years old before September 1st. And then kindergarten programs, which we have enough for whatever the demand may be, are at the following locations: Bates, Bentley, which is also a only dual language, Carleton, Horace Mann, Saltonstall, and Witchcraft Heights. And those programs are for students who turn 5 before September 1st of this current school year. So that's a landscape of where the programs are. There's a slightly different flavor in every school. And you'll learn, while you may hear a little bit of that tonight, you'll really get that sense as you visit schools and speak to leaders and teachers across our buildings. So with that, I'm going to pass it to our Deputy Superintendent, Kate Carboni, who's going to continue to share important information with you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Streich. Thank you for the next slide. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's great to see so many family members have joined tonight. So we're really excited to provide you with information about our programs and our enrollment process, because we want you to feel confident about next steps. And we know that it can be a little unnerving and that there are a lot of details. As Dr. Streich said, tonight's presentation is being recorded, so I hope that eases anxiety that you can refer back to this. And then, of course, you can always call us at our Parent Information Center and we can help you. But we really not only want to share, details with you, we want to create a sense of an excitement about your child coming to one of our early education programs in the Salem Public Schools. So I'm going to start off by telling you some of the things that all of our early ed programs have in common. And so it's important for you all to know that children have access to a range of services and supports, no matter which location they are assigned to for pre-K or kindergarten, including access to a nutritious breakfast and lunch at no cost. We also offer after-school programming at all of our sites. And I know that we received lots of questions ahead of time about this, and our Director of Extended Academics and Enrichment Services, Taylor McDonald, shall share more about these after-school programs a little later in the presentation. Because we are committed to the core values that Dr. Streich went over of equity, inclusion, and opportunity, all of our schools are staffed with multilingual learner teachers, special educators, and student support teams, so that our youngest learners have access to these supports and services as needed. And we prioritize access to these resources to ensure that all children thrive in our programs and are able to enjoy daily learning activities, play, and social interactions with their peers. Next slide, Jensen. So I know that many of you have lots of questions about when children are eligible for our programs. So I'm going to review that now. Salem Public Schools offers 3 distinct early childhood programs. We have a program for 3-year-olds. These seats are part of our integrated preschool program at the Early Childhood Center. And the 3-year-old program is a half-day learning experience in the morning. It runs in the morning from 8:45 till 12. We have pre-K seats available for 4-year-olds in 4 of our schools. Our Early Childhood Center has pre-K seats, as does Bates Elementary School, Horace Mann Laboratory School, and as Dr. Streich said, we are adding a new dual language pre-K class at the Bentley Academy Innovation School in the coming year. Our pre-Kers attend a full day, and they follow the same exact schedule in terms of start and end times, like all the other students in the school where they are assigned. During the registration process, families are offered the opportunity to select your preference for a location, and if we can meet that request, we will. It's really important, and I really want to underscore this for families to know that neither the 3-year-old program or our 4-year-old program are what we consider universal, meaning that there is not a seat for every child. Seats are limited, and if we have more applicants than we have seats, we do a lottery and then we construct a wait list. And we will tell you more about that a little later. Our kindergarten program, on the other hand, is universal, and we do have a seat for every child who is a Salem resident and who wants a seat. All 6 of our elementary schools have kindergarten classrooms, and the kindergarten classes at Bentley are part of our dual language program. And again, we'll tell you more about this specialized program shortly. There are mandatory criteria for who is eligible for our early ed programs. Eligible kindergartners must be 5 years old by August 31st, 2024. And as I said earlier, all children are guaranteed a seat. Pre-Kers must be 4 years old by August 31st, 2024. And for our 3-year-old program, the child must be 3 years old by August 31st, 2024. And as I mentioned earlier, there are limited seats for both pre-K and our 3-year-old program. And so if there are more applicants than available seats, we will hold a lottery. It's important to note this as well. Children who are admitted to pre-K at Bates and Horace Mann are not guaranteed a kindergarten seat at that school. When your child is ready for kindergarten, you must register as part of our assignment. However, children who are admitted to the pre-K dual language class at Bentley will be granted a slot in the dual language kindergarten class, as the pre-K dual language class is considered a feeder to the specialized program. Next slide, please. Now that we've outlined some of the program features, I want to share a little bit with you about details about our curriculum and what your child will experience during an average day in one of our early ed programs. Our curriculum at the early grades is designed to promote discovery and independence and teamwork. And so our classrooms are set up to support children as active learners. If you were to visit one of our pre-K or K classrooms, you might see students working in centers, enjoying books, engaged in imaginative play with their friends, singing songs about the weather, or doing puzzles to learn about their shapes. We take great pride that our early learning spaces foster peer interactions and joyful learning and exploration. Another centerpiece to our early learning curriculum is the arts. Our youngest learners experience art, music, and physical education, and they often visit the library or learning commons in their school. These specialty areas are really important and enhance the learning of content while also developing students' appreciation of the arts, teamwork, and wellness. In our early learning spaces, children learn in different formats. And so there are times when the teacher will do like a brief lesson, but it should not exceed like 5 or 10 minutes with the whole class. And then other times when students will be working independently with small peer groups or in partners. So the structure of learning changes frequently throughout the day to keep students engaged and interested and interacting with each other. On the next slide, you'll see what a typical day looks like for our early learners. Each day starts out with like a morning meeting, which is a class meeting time, a circle, if you will. And this is a time when children review not only the schedule for the day, but it's an opportunity for the teacher to focus on building community through helping the children build relationships with their peers. So it's a really good anchor to the day and a way to get started. As you see throughout the day, there are times for students to play and go outside for recess, excuse me. We have outdoor classrooms at each of our elementary schools, and teachers facilitate learning and play outside of the classroom often. And so we really think that that's a critical, important part of the day. Each day, the children go also to special classes, like I mentioned earlier, either art, music, library, or physical education. We do find that at the end of the day, our little ones are pretty tired, but it is important for parents to know and families to know that we do offer after-school programming for both pre-K and kindergarten at all of our sites. And then the last thing that I want to highlight is how important it is that children coming to school every day in pre-K and kindergarten and how important that is. With COVID, I think, obviously we all got really super hyper focused on being really conscious about, being guarded about going into public when experiencing cold-like symptoms. And that being said, I think we've all gotten a lot better about recognizing the difference between COVID symptoms and a sniffle. And so we do want parents and caregivers to know that when you accept a pre-K seat, you're making a commitment to send your student to school every day, each and every day, unless, of course, they are clearly sick and experiencing, symptoms that would indicate, they should stay home. It's important that establishing good routines around attendance start in the early grades. It goes a long way to making sure that, kids are connected to school, and we know that regular attendance pays off in the long run and, ensures school success in the upper grades. So we do expect that we may have a wait list for pre-K seats. And so it's important that everyone understand we cannot hold a seat for a child whose family is not ensuring that they're attending regularly. And of course, we'll work with families, but I did want to just, really emphasize how important, regular attendance is, and hope that you will be partners with us in promoting good habits around attendance. And so now I'm going to hand things off, I believe, to Andre Fonseca.
Yeah. So good evening. I am so excited to share more information about our pre-K and kindergarten dual language programs at Bentley. And I would normally read the slides in both languages tonight, as is our custom, but since we have live interpretation tonight, I'll be reading them only in English. And I'd like to start off by saying that dual language is a commitment to supporting your children to become fully bilingual and biliterate in English and Spanish, meaning they can read and write in English and Spanish, as well as speak both languages. To reach this goal, we ensure that children in the dual language program learn math, science, social studies, and literacy in English and Spanish throughout the entire school day. Although, as you will see, there's an emphasis on Spanish at the earliest grades, and we'll talk about the reasons why soon. Dual language is for everyone. It's for children who speak English, children who speak Spanish, children who speak other languages, as well as children who are bilingual. And spaces in our dual language program are limited, and we run a lottery and a wait list to determine placement in our dual language pre-K and K classes. Our pre-K classrooms are considered a feeder into the rest of the Bentley dual language program. So if your child receives a seat for the dual language in pre-K or K, they're guaranteed a seat for the rest of their elementary school years. So as mentioned earlier, dual language is a commitment to helping your child become fully bilingual and biliterate. In order to do this, 90% of your child's day in both pre-K and kindergarten is taught in Spanish. This allows students to learn foundational skills in Spanish, and these foundational skills actually help them not only understand Spanish better, but also to understand English better, because students will be able to transfer the Spanish language skills that they're acquiring in pre-K and K to skills they're developing in English during the 10% of their school day in English in pre-K and K, and also again once they enter the higher grades. You can see in this chart, pre-K is missing, but pre-K would look the same as kindergarten. That is 90% of the day of a child in pre-K, as well as in K, would be spent learning math, science, history, and literacy in Spanish, and 10% of their time would be spent on English and oracy skills. As students move up the grades, we begin to include more and more English until they're approximately 50% of their time in both languages by grades 3 to 5. This gradual process to reaching a 50-50 split in languages allows students to build a strong base in Spanish that will be much harder in a model where they had less than 90% of their time during the school day to focus on Spanish. So I'll finish now by saying that if you're interested in dual language education for your child, I would make sure to select Bentley as your first choice school so that your child will be considered for our dual language lottery for pre-K and K.
So as mentioned, we do have after-school programs at all of our schools that have pre-kindergarten. So that's Bates, Bentley, Horseman, and the ECC. After school pre-K runs right from school day dismissal until 5 o'clock. The program is staffed by Salem Public Schools early elementary staff. We do offer the program for cost on a sliding fee, and we work closely with families to make it affordable. In the program, the students get dismissed, we offer them a snack, and then we bring in some community partners to do fun, engaging activities. We partner with Inclusion Sports, Kick Karate, Music Together, and then they have some free play time at the end, and dismissal, as mentioned, is at 5 o'clock. We do also partner with the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club to offer after-school programs for grades K through 5. These programs run until 6 o'clock, and both programs offer they're affordable after-school programs with enrichment opportunities and support social emotional development growth for each of the students. And we'll have more opportunities to connect with these partners later on February 8th, when you can come and meet them in person.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you today. My name is Laura Assad, and I'm the DEI Director for the district and also oversee our Parent Information Center. I'm here joined by Yari Acevedo. I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself, and we'll get into how you can register your student to Salem Public Schools.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yari Acevedo. I am the welcome specialist, and my office is located at the Parent Information Center at the Collins Middle School. Looking forward to connecting with you at the Parent Information Center after today.
Thank you, Yari. So how do you register your child for school? First, you need to be 4 years old by August 31st, as mentioned prior, and that's for pre-K, and 5 years old before August 31st to start kindergarten. There are a few things that would need to be done as part of the process, but that's why we are here to walk you through those steps. Next slide, please. So step one, you have several opportunities to be able to learn about our schools. We have some upcoming events that will happen over the next few weeks and months. And you also have the ability to go to our website and learn about all of the current happenings in the individual schools and at the district level. Outside of our website, we have amazing and knowledgeable family engagement facilitators who you can contact and get additional information. And you can also connect with them in future for scheduling any tours that are upcoming, and again, to connect you with any other educator within that building. In a moment, Kate will share information about dates for those coming opportunities. What will have to happen next is you would have to register online. Our website is salemk12.org. You will then click on families and then enrolling into our schools. In that, you will see information on how to start the application process. We recommend that you do the application on the computer. And if you need support, you can come to our offices, again, at Collins Middle School, and visit the Parent Information Center. We have computers available for any family member who may need them. And there's a benefit because we will be there to support and walk you through that process. You can also reach out to us during our hours of operation. If you happen to be filling out the application at home or at another location, you can reach out to us and we will be happy to help you over the phone as well. Part of the application will allow for you to start with creating an Aspen account. And after creating the Aspen account, it's really important to select the 2024-2025 school year application. And that will allow for you to be to submit your application for the next school year and not the current school year for your pre-K or kindergarten student. At the end of the application, we always ask to please hit submit at the end so that we can ensure that we receive it on our end. Part of the application will also allow for you to submit some supporting documents. So as you can see, there are needs for 2 proofs of address, the proof of the child's age, immunization records, and parent or caregiver ID. You are welcome to call us at the Parent Information Center on the different ways that you can submit the information. You can upload it right onto the enrollment application. You can drop it to our office, again, at Collins Middle School and the Parent Information Center, or you can email us at pic@salemk12.org, and we're happy to accept those supporting documents in those forms. Next slide, please. Step 3 is just to wait to receive your assignment. As you can see, there are particular deadlines that apply. So there are deadlines for sibling preference, which are for February 26th. For the first batch for kindergarten is March 18th. Second batch is June 24th. And then summer kindergarten and anything after June 30th are received by then. There are particular deadlines that apply for the dual language lottery, and that is for March 18th. So to what Andre was alluding to, is that if you are looking to have your student participate in our dual language program, it is important that you choose the dual language program school, Bentley, as your first choice so that you can be considered for that lottery for March 18th. So then the window for pre-K lottery is again for March 18th as well. The window number 2, that deadline is June 24th. And the third window for pre-K lottery is August 15th.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to quickly clarify. So there's only one window, so that's March 18th. So if you want your child at dual language, make sure to apply by the March 18th deadline. After applying and receiving the applications on March 18th, the lottery date will be held on the 12th of April, and families will get notified on the 2nd of May.
Thank you, Andres. Again, if anyone has any questions regarding any of the deadlines or how to apply for Salem Public Schools and any questions on the enrollment, you're welcome to visit our website and visit us at the Parent Information Center or giving us a call, and one of our specialists will be able to help you. I'm going to turn it over to Kate.
Thank you. So I know that feels like a real lot. Again, I want to reiterate, we're here to help you. This whole presentation has been recorded so that you have access to that. And then as my colleague Laura said, the Parent Information Center is here to help you, support you through this process. So that's as easy as a phone call to them and they will help you. But also we do have a meet and greet evening in-person event scheduled in a few weeks on February 8th. From 5:30 to 7:30. And so we want to invite you to Collins Middle School. It'll be hosted in the cafeteria space. And on that night, each school will have a table where you'll be able to meet the principal and other staff members at the school and learn about each school individually. If you do go on our website, you will see that each school has a school profile that is a printed document that gives you some details about the school in terms of, you know, the principal, the phone number, the address, and other special features about the school. But there's nothing like interacting with the principal. And so we invite you to join us on February 8th to come to Collins Middle School between the times. You don't have to stay for the whole time. You can drop in whenever it's convenient for you between the hours of 5:30 and 7:30 to meet and talk to school principals and other staff about the individual schools. In addition, each department will also have a table. So our nursing department will have a table, Taylor will have a table for after school programs. We'll have food service, transportation, etc. So you may have questions about other things. Special education will be there with the table. So it's a night for you to come and mix and mingle and meet some of our staff and get more questions answered at that time. The Parent Information Center will also have tables arranged so that you can sit with one of our specialists from the Parent Information Center and sit side by side and have them walk you through the process if you're having, difficulty or any questions. So we want to ensure you that we're here to support you and by your side throughout the whole process. So again, mark that date on your calendar, February 8th, 5:30 to 7:30 here at Collins Middle School. So that's one thing. And then we also invite you to participate in school tours and visits. So it's really important that you start to, learn about the schools on the February 8th by visiting, the different school tables, by visiting our website and learning about the schools through that. All our materials are translated, so to make it accessible to all families. But we also do have this week between the weeks of March 4th and March 15th for families to arrange and sign up for a school visit and a tour. And this will help inform you, help you narrow in on what school seems to be a good fit for your child and their particular interests and background and needs. So we're encouraging you to list your top 3 choices. We want you to be informed about that. So we encourage you to sign up for school tours. You may not go to all the schools, but you may want to go to a few. Tour the building. You'll be able to see classrooms and other spaces like the cafeteria, the playground, etc. And so we'll be sending more information to you about how to sign up for these as the dates get closer.
All right, now the fun can begin with questions. Maybe we can get off of the slideshow screen. There we go. And we have a number of questions. Thank you for those that have submitted them. We'll try to get to as many as they can. We've left plenty of time for Q&A. I do want to start by just asking the Carleton principal, Ms. Weaver, to talk a little bit about Carleton has a little bit of a different application cycle. There is the application on the, for beginning in September or beginning, at the beginning of the school year, but there's also other application windows or enrollment windows for Carleton. So Ms. Weaver, you could just explain that so parents understand that Carleton works a little differently.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Zreik. Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Weaver. I am the principal at the Carleton Innovation School. Part of our innovation model is that we actually welcome kindergartners or P1 students, I should say, to our school 3 times throughout the school year. Like Dr. Zreik mentioned, there is the traditional September start. However, if your student turns 5 before November 1st, in that window between September and November 1st, they actually could apply to start at Carleton in November for the 2nd trimester. Or if they turn 5 before March 1st, they can also apply to start in trimester 3 in March as well. So we do have students that have sometimes we have 3 first days of school at Carleton because we are welcoming new students as part of our innovation model. And if you would be interested in either the November or the March start for your student, you would still apply with the registration deadlines that were previously listed.
Great. So it's the same application timeline, even if you want to be considered for November or for March. Is that right, Ms.
Yes, it is. And it is a wait list that you do go on for the November or the March starts.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so we're going to get to some of the questions that we received prior to tonight and also tonight. I'm going to take the first question here we received. One is about the new Gateway to Pre-K legislation that just was shared by the governor about universal pre-K throughout the Commonwealth for gateway cities. We don't have any more details than what we saw in the media. and during the governor's state of the state last night. And so it will not have an impact on us for at least the upcoming school year. And it seems that it will be 2 more years before it rolls out. And so we'll share more information as we get it. Again, we're fortunate that in Salem, we do have already pre-K opportunities in the school system and with our partners that are free, full day, and do have childcare as well. So thank you for that question. And that is hot off the presses. And as soon as we have more details, we'll be sharing them with folks. So let's see, I've got a couple questions. I'm going to try to direct them to the right people. If you're not the right person, please pass it to who you think is the right person. So somebody asks here, and I think this would be good for you, Leanne, at the ECC. Do you need to be potty trained to go to the early childhood center? And yeah, so let's start with that. How many do you need to be potty trained to go to pre-K?
Nope, you do not need to be potty trained. We can certainly help you out with that. So not necessary.
And now while I have you there, can I ask you about the 3-year-old programs? Are they only half day, Ms. Smith, or are there full day programs for 3-year-olds?
Currently, the 3-year-old programs for peers are only half days, 8:45 till 12 o'clock.
Okay. And then all the programs for 4-year-olds and of course 5-year-olds are full day programs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So let me ask a question. Let's see here. And I'll ask this question to Laura and Yadi. Are kindergarten twins guaranteed to enter the same school? We'll start there around the assignment process for twins.
Yeah, so for the deadlines that we mentioned, we will receive your application and then move forward with enrolling your student and assigning them. They will end up being together if that is the choosing that you have. So for twins, we tried our best to keep them together. We do what we need to do to, if they need to be in a similar classroom, but yes, we do enroll them in the same school, and we do our best to assign them in the school of the choice of the parent.
Okay, I'm going to ask this of an elementary principal related to twins. How do you assign twins to classrooms at the school level? If we try to keep twins are kept in the same school. How do we make the assignments? Is that a parental discretion or is that the decision of the school, teachers? Does an elementary principal want to come off mute and take that question?
I'll take it, Steve.
All right, there you go, Ms. Smith.
The parents' discretion is always what we go by. So if you have twins and you'd like them to be in the same classroom, we will honor that request.
Great. Thank you. So there's some questions about other languages, dual language options for students that speak languages other than Spanish. So Andre, maybe this is for you. Are there options for schools for a child who's learning Portuguese, for instance, or Russian? Are those options available in the district right now?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I mean, I can share that Brazilian Portuguese is near and dear to my own heart as a native Brazilian myself, a native Brazilian Portuguese speaker. And I know that all of our families who speak those languages as heritage languages, whether it's Russian, Albanian, Ukrainian, other languages, it's very important to you. And we validate that. And we know that the best model for language acquisition really is a dual language model. With that said, I can say at this time that Spanish is the only dual language model we offer, but we are currently drafting a 5-year plan that we are going to present to the executive team. And part of that plan is to gather input from our community about what kinds of languages you would like to see offered in the Salem public schools, including Brazilian Portuguese, Russian, Ukrainian, Albanian.
Yeah, I think that's something we will want to continue to explore. We're very fortunate in Salem that we have many, many different languages spoken in our schools and with our families, and that number continues to grow by the day. And so that is something we see language language access, or I should say, the ability to speak a second language or a third language or a fourth language as an absolute superpower. And we want to continue to support our young people in their ability to speak multiple languages. We know the doors they open for young people, for anybody who can speak multiple languages. So I think stay tuned and please advocate for what languages you would like to see in our system. There are some questions here about after school, Taylor, so I'm going to turn it over to you. Is the space limited for after school? Is there a cost for the after school programs? And do the times vary by school? So I don't know if you captured all three of those questions, Taylor,
Yeah.
but I can repeat them if you would like.
For our pre-K, there is limited space for after school. For our pre-K sites, we don't have a wait list right now, and if there is a wait list, it's usually very limited amount of time. We serve about like 18 students after school, 18 to 15 students after school in our pre-K sites. For the school age sites for kindergarten through K, those also have limited seats, and those are, as mentioned, we partner with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club, who work on recruiting for those or enrolling for those programs. And our City Connects coordinators in our school can help families getting into those programs as well. There is, for pre-K after school, there is a fee. It's a sliding fee. Our goal is to make it affordable yet sustainable. So we work with families very closely so that we can support you in supporting in offering childcare for your families. And at our school age sites that are for kindergarten through 5th grade, those are also offered for cost. Those programs accept vouchers from the state, and the organizations also have scholarship seats as well. And then all the school age programs, so kindergarten through 5th grade programs, those run until 6 o'clock at all the schools. And then our pre-K programs run until 5 o'clock.
Okay, there was a question here, Taylor, that at Saltonstall, does the after school program run until 6 or 5:30? Because it says 5:30 on the Salem Public School site.
It's 6 o'clock with the Boys and Girls Club, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, Kate Carboni, I just have a few questions for you. There's a number of questions about the cutoff dates that we have, that you have to be 4 by August 31st and 5 by August 31st. Is there any flexibility around those dates? Is there a process for people to circumvent those dates if their child turns, say they turn 5 just days after, in mid-September? Is there any recourse for a parent?
So currently, we do not have a process for circumventing those dates. They're pretty set in stone. And what we can do is work with families to explore options with community partners that may have seats and they have more flexibility around dates. So that's something that the Parent Information Center can partner with family members to explore, because there are many other options in the community that may fit the family's needs. But our dates are pretty set in stone. The one flexibility is the Carleton has that sort of rolling, the trimester entry points, but the others are set.
Okay, great. Mark, you there? Mark LeBlanc, there you are. Okay, a couple tech questions here for you. One question is, when does the registration open? I don't see the application live yet. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, so we don't have, the batch isn't actually open yet. So a couple people I saw said that they didn't see the new school year. That's by design because it's not officially open yet. So I don't know if Laura can or Jody can tell me when the plan is to open it. Basically, when they tell me, I open it. But I don't know. That might be for Saya though.
Normally the application opens up after the expo. So anytime after today, or after tomorrow, the application should become available for the public to be able to apply for their young person for next year.
Yeah,
Okay,
so those will be available then tomorrow. But you can still create your Aspen account now, so you can go and get your Aspen account and get ready and just wait by the keyboard, and it'll be there tomorrow.
Okay, great. All right, let's see. I'm trying to sift through the questions, make sure we get to as many of them as possible. Let's see. Can somebody how long is a typical school tour? Kate mentioned that there'll be school tours. I don't know who's the best position to take. Maybe one of the principals can just explain. I'll turn it over to you, maybe Beth Angelison. How long typically is a school tour?
They vary. I would say between 15 minutes and 30 minutes, depending on number of questions and how many people are in the tour, because you like to bring them to the kindergarten classrooms. You like to bring them, show them the playground, the cafeteria, some of the other important spots, some of the other specialist classes. And then depending on how many people are there and how many people ask questions will depend on how long the tour takes. I tend to talk a little bit longer, so mine usually end up being like 30 minutes or so. So I would always err on the side of caution and plan for about 30 minutes, but they don't always take that long.
Great. Okay, Kate, this question is for you. There are some questions here about if you have an older child in a school that has pre-K, is there preference for that child to get into that school?
So we do sibling preference for pre-K 2. And so that's part of the lottery process, provided that there is a seat that is available, when we go through the lottery. So, I mean, if all the seats have been filled, there have been instances where all the seats have been filled at one school, and then we do pull the name of a parent that, requested a seat at that school. We can offer them a pre-K seat, but it may not be at the school. So we do a strict, no, we don't look at the names or whatever. We do put the names in buckets, and we will honor that when we can.
May I just add to that too, part of the deadlines that we have available, we do have a sibling preference. So if you happen to have a student that is a little bit older and you're applying either for pre-K or kindergarten, please apply by the February 26th deadline so that we can work on doing what we need to do to assign your student with their sibling. And you will be notified of that placement by May 2nd. And in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, again, you're welcome to reach out to Parent Information Center. But we do we do our best to ensure that siblings stay together within the schools when possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also often get the question, if your child is in a pre-K program in the Salem Public Schools, do you get preference to the school that where your child's preschool program is located? And the answer to that is no. You have to apply. There is no preference unless you have a sibling in the school, but it is a separate application process. The only exception will be the new Bentley program, because we're trying to build a pipeline into the dual language program at Bentley. So if you get accepted into the dual language program at Bentley, you will automatically have a seat in their kindergarten program for the following year. Did I get that right, Andre? Okay. A couple of other questions that we have. There's a question here about whether ECC has an on-site after-school program. Leanne, do you want to take that?
Sure thing. Yes, the ECC does have an on-site after-school program, but I do want to, I was just looking through some of these questions, make it clear that the after-school program at the ECC is only for 4-year-old students or full-day students. So if it's a 3-year-old student who's half day, who goes home at 12, they will not be able to access the after-school program because it doesn't start until 3 o'clock or 2:45. So it's just for full-day students at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have a couple questions here about the lottery. Laura, I'm going to ask you and Yadi, how does the lottery work? Is it first come, first serve?
Daddy, can you take the question? You're on
Okay.
mute, Daddy.
Oh, I think Yadi, you're still on mute.
I can start and then Jody can fill in. So we receive the applications and of course they're time stamped, so we take those things into consideration. So we assign based on when when a caregiver or family member applies. So we will process each application for each of the times that we receive them. And then we go in and check the different deadline dates and ensuring that they're within those batches so that we can provide the proper placement considerations.
So, and what we do at the end, we will put in all the names on a bucket, and we'll just pick the name and we just assign them.
Right, but it's not first come, first serve within the bucket in each bucket. There's a deadline, and then there's a lottery.
There is a deadline. There is. It's March 1st for batch 1. There is. Yep.
Okay, and so the lottery is held after each one of those deadlines, and so there isn't an advantage. There only is an advantage in getting your application before the deadline that is set.
Right. So for the first batch, the deadline would be March 18, and then delivery will be taking place on April 12. Okay, so after that, we will notify so the assignment notification will go out as the same as the kindergarten by May 2nd.
Okay. All right, a few additional questions. There's some special education questions I wanted to direct to you, Ms. Doucette-Lee. Are there any schools more focused on students with IEPs for kindergarten students?
So every school in the district provides IEP services for students and has a full array of supporting services such as OT, PT, and speech. There are some programs that are housed in certain elementary schools, such as programs that focus on ASD or behavior or for students with language-based learning disabilities. So those are the only cases if your student needs a more intensive program, they would be housed in a certain school.
Okay, there's also a question about what supports we provide for deaf students.
In Salem, we're really fortunate to have a full-time teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing. We also have another teacher who helps out as needed, that performs evaluations and support and meetings and things like that as well. But we also have an audiologist through Children's Hospital that helps with consultation, with troubleshooting for students that may have a cochlear implant, maybe that need an FM system or have a hearing aid. So we do offer a full array of services for students that may be hard of hearing or deaf. And as needs change, we always adjust those as well. So if we ended up when you're having a lot of students with needs in this area, we would adjust our staffing accordingly.
Okay, great, thank you. There's a question here for Carlton. For the Carlton program that was described, does that attempt to bring the child up with peers and then advance to the next grade level at the start of the academic year? How does that work if you start later in the school year?
Sure. So it's not necessarily a one size fits all model with our innovation plan. Part of our plan is that we are thinking about the student and teaching them where they're at. So I'm going to use March as an example. If your student started in March, they wouldn't start P2, which is our first and second grade, in September. They may start P2 the following March. We may see that they need an extra trimester. They may stay in P1, which is our kindergarten or where our kindergarten standards are taught. It really gives the flexibility. If you start in November or March, it gives your student the flexibility essentially of 2 extra trimesters of elementary school, that maybe they are doing an extra trimester in P1, or maybe they're not. And all of a sudden they're in E2 which is our 4th and 5th grade. And they're working on 6th grade standards in a small group. So there's a lot of complexity that goes around or goes along with our innovation plan. I highly recommend that you come and tour Carleton if you're considering. And during those tours, we go into a lot more detail of the plan. And at the in-person expo as well, we'll be there so that we can give you more details on the plan as well. And Steve, while I'm on, I think there was another question too. Someone asked if you do start in November or March, your student is considered a P1 or kindergarten student and absolutely could be considered for the after-school programming.
Okay, there's also a question here, Lauren. Is space limited for the Carleton second semester kindergarten enrollment, or will everyone be admitted if applied?
Unfortunately, not necessarily everyone is admitted. It is a wait list. It depends on how many students from P1 we have moving in March to P2. We usually know, I would say probably by January, maybe beginning of February, how many seats we're going to have, because at that point we know what students will be moving.
Okay. I've got a couple questions here, Leanne, for you about the Early Childhood Center. First of all, are there naps? Oh, I'd love a nap. Are there naps in our preschool programs or not for 3 and 4 year olds?
So our pre-K, our 4-year-olds do not have naps. Most teachers do sort of like a little quiet time after lunch or recess, but they don't nap. Our 3-year-olds, our full day 3-year-old students have a little bit of a nap time. It's about 30 minutes where sort of the lights are off and the mats come out, but they're not necessarily, they don't have to sleep. They have other opportunities to play or do puzzles or that kind of thing, but there's definitely quiet time.
Mm-hmm. And Leanne, is there a limit to the number of students that can be in the after-school program? And maybe this is for you too, Taylor. And the sliding scale is what can you talk a little more about the sliding scale?
Yeah, I'll pass that to Taylor.
There are limited seats, as mentioned in the after-school program at the ECC. Right now, we have 15 slots. We have the minimum attendance for after school is 2 days a week, and the maximum is 5 days a week. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we can make sure that those are available on February 8th at the in-person meet and greet. Yeah, and most families opt in for pre-K after school from like 2 to 4 days a week, just because it is a long day if students are there till 5.
Okay. We have a meal question here. So I'm going to turn it over to Michaela. Are meals and snacks provided for pre-K students during the day and after school care?
Yes, we provide breakfast, lunch, and an after school snack. The menu mimics our elementary school menu, but we look out for different regulations regarding the pre-K meal pattern. So we omit choking hazards, and they do not receive flavored milk, and they do not receive juice, and then a certain amount of added sugar cut off for their breakfast cereals. But yes, breakfast, lunch, and after school snack are all provided at no cost.
Okay, great. I'm going to take a couple of these questions that I can see here quickly. There is no transportation available for pre-K programs right now. Even if there are siblings taking the school bus, we do not provide transportation for pre-K. We do for kindergarten. And so that's, I want to make that clear. There's a question here about safety measures at the schools. How are people the very good question, able to enter the building? How's the relationship with the Salem Police Department? We have a very strong relationship with the Salem Police. We do have 2 SROs Salem police officers who work across our schools, and they visit all the schools, both to build positive relationships with our young people, and they're also there in the event of an emergency. We do practice emergency drills as well. We are very strict about who comes in the building. We have protocols around making sure that people are buzzed in, they state their purpose for coming in the building, and we try to get tighter each and every day. We have a district crisis team or planning team that meets monthly, and each school has their own safety team as well. So we do have quite a bit of contact and interaction with Salem Police. And this is something that in schools we take very seriously, given a lot of what we've seen nationally, and we're very proud of the safety measures we've taken, and we know we just had an audit done, and while we don't release that information publicly, we are working off that audit to continue to enhance the safety and of our schools for both staff and for students. There's a question here about could a child apply now right now for spaces? We do have a few spaces right now if they meet the age requirements I don't know, Leanne, we don't have any 3-year-old spaces right now, or do we?
I believe we will. I know we will, because we'll be opening up a new classroom.
Okay.
That will be an integrated classroom, so we will have some peer spaces.
And we do have a few pre-K spots open, but again, they would have to have met the cutoff for being 3 or 4 before September 1st or August 31st of 2023. So that's, let's see, there's a question here about the meet and greet night that Kate mentioned. That is not intended for children. We do always want children in our buildings, but that night is really for families, for parents to come and get more information about their schools. Let's see. Okay. There's a question about summer programs for pre-K. We don't currently offer summer programs for pre-K. We do right now offer a number of programs for kindergarten and up. Taylor, am I right about that? There is no programs for pre-K students. Summer programs.
Correct.
Yep. Let's see. How many kindergarten classrooms are at each school? It varies. Most of our schools all of them have at least 2. Most of our schools now are 2-strand schools, but Witchcraft has more than that. They have 4 kindergarten classes. Bates has 3 kindergarten classes, and I believe everyone else has 2 kindergarten classes. Kate, there's a question here about curriculum between the schools. Is there any subtle differences between the curriculum at the early childhood classes across the schools? Or Kim, that could be a question for you, Kim, as well.
Want to take it, Kim?
Absolutely. So all of our pre-K classes across the schools use the 3 Cheers curriculum, and the teachers work very hard to plan together, to calibrate around what they're teaching our children, and also to celebrate best practices so that our kids have a great, consistent experience across the Bates, the Horace Mann, the ECC, and also some of our community partners.
Great. Jen, coming back to you on special education, there's some questions about speech. Is there a special school for children who go to kindergarten with speech programs? And which schools provide services for intensive speech? So those are related to one another.
So we have all our complementary services are offered in every single school. So from speech to OT, PT, orientation mobility, teacher of the deaf, teacher of the blind, everything that we offer at every single school. So such as the BCBA and everything. We offer anything from mild to intensive services at every school. The only things that are only offered at specific school is if your student is in a program the entire day. So if your student is in a specialized program for students with intellectual disabilities, or for a student that may have autism, if they're in a full day intensive program, we do offer that at certain schools. So you wouldn't be able to go to every single school if you're part of an intensive program. But if you are not part of an intensive program, your student can go to any school in Salem, and we offer every service that is available.
And that includes OT, occupational therapy. There was a question about that.
OT, PT, speech, everything. Yeah.
There's a question about students having a meal from home if wanted or requested. Michaela, do you want to take that? Are students allowed to bring meals from home?
Most definitely. As I said before, all of our meals are free, so we want them to participate in our program, but we don't shy away from them bringing home meals as well. Can even do a little bit of both.
Okay. Thank you. There's a question here about before school programs. I'm not aware of before school programs at any of the elementaries, but do any of the elementary principals for pre-K and kindergarten. Does anybody have before school programs? I don't believe so. No, we have after school, but not before school programs. So that's a consideration as you choose schools. Certainly the start times for schools, they're likely to be very similar as they are this year. So that's something you want to consider when making selections about schools. Okay, there's a question here. Leanne, I think this is best for you. What emergency drills are pre-K and kindergarten students subjected to? I know we've talked about this. How do you handle the drills in a for pre-K and kindergarten or early childhood students at the ECC, for instance?
Sure. Well, we handle them very carefully, and there's always different ways to approach it. We have little social stories that teachers read to the children ahead of time. We try to keep it as to a minimum as much as possible in terms of what the students are actually talking about or involved in. If it's, we do a lot of practicing of a lockdown perhaps, but more, we're not rushing around and evacuating and that kind of thing, more talking about what we might do if there were a stranger in the building. We're really still working out that process and really what it should look like. And that's something that I look forward to doing a little bit more and more this year. So we're sure that we're doing it right with our littlest, 3 and 4 year olds. Of course, there's definitely fire drills. Everybody participates in a fire drill. I think it's 2 or 3 times a year. But in terms of the other types of whether we want to call them Alice drills or that type of thing, we try to keep it to a minimum. We do social stories, but we're definitely still working on solidifying what that really should look like, looking at some experts and some research and materials, that type of thing.
Right. Okay, thank you. There's a question here. We have a good question here for Jane Morrissey, our nursing lead. What are protocols for food allergies and EpiPens?
So unfortunately, Nurse Jane's computer just died.
Oh,
this is
okay.
Ellen Wingard. I'm the Executive Director of Student Support Services. And she's frantically trying to log back on, but that's what happens sometimes in our virtual world. We do have protocols in place, and each of our buildings has at least 1, if not 2, school nurses that can help create, solid plans for kids who have food allergies, and then work with our colleagues in food and nutrition, including Michaela and her folks, around making sure that we're protecting kids around the food allergies. So we can follow up on that specific question, but I'll take that one and let Jane know that parents are interested.
Okay. If she jumps back on, we'll get her, but if not, we'll make sure we answer that question in other formats as well. But I know the nurses it's very important that there's communication with the nurses and they come up with a plan for each individualized student depending on what the needs are. And that is shared widely with staff in the building and certainly with the food service staff if it's a food allergy, and staff are trained accordingly depending on whether a child has an EpiPen or not. There's a question here, Ms. Rogers, about the dual language program and about the intensity of the 90-10 model. And what are your thoughts about the intensity of that model? Is there any lighter formats in schools? Do you think that that's too much for young people? And maybe you could speak a little bit to the philosophy around and the rationale for 90-10 Spanish to English model in the Bentley dual language program.
Sure. I was reading this question. It's really interesting. And also Andre and I were texting about it. So feel free to jump in, Andre. That's a really interesting question. It's really exciting for the child of this family that's learning multiple languages. We have actually several students in our program who come from homes where another language or other languages are spoken aside from English and Spanish. So that's really exciting. And most of those students seem to be doing really well. I think because they haven't had exposure to other languages and then they come in and add another language, it's just kind of part of what they do. Andre did speak a little bit earlier about the rationale behind the 90-10 model, and the reason that we teach and immerse students more in Spanish at the beginning earlier when they're learning reading skills is because of the transparency of Spanish. So Spanish, if you know or don't know, pretty much one letter makes one sound, and that makes learning to read in Spanish much more simple. It's still a complicated thing to learn how to read, but it makes it more simple than learning to read in English. And then when we start to intentionally, explicitly teach literacy in English by for end of first and second grade, students have already gained a lot of reading skills that they can transfer over into English. That said, I would love to have, any families that have multiple languages come visit our school and have like more specific conversations about your child. I love languages, and I think languages are exciting, and that's what we do really well at Bentley. So come for a tour or come to the information night next in February, and I'm happy to talk specifics with families that have that background.
Liz answered that really well. So I will just add on to the part about lighter formats. So we do offer Spanish classes starting at the middle school level, but I want to be clear that this is not dual language. That would be one world language classroom that they would take as part of their schedule. And it's not dual language. It would take your child much longer to acquire proficiency in Spanish using the world language model than if they were in a dual language school. So keep that in mind if that's a consideration for your child. It would be very different to acquire languages through the world language model versus dual language. Dual language really is shown to be the best model for high levels of proficiency in both languages. And then to the third part of the question about wondering if you're overloading the child with languages, the research shows that there's no such thing as learning too many languages. They encourage students to learn as many languages as possible. It could only be beneficial for your child. So keep learning languages, keep encouraging your child to learn languages. It's very good for them.
Great. I did note that our nursing director's back on. Welcome back, Jane. There were just questions about EpiPens and allergies and how schools handle students with food allergies.
Thank you. Sorry about my technical difficulties. So at the time of registration, there's a health questionnaire that you'll need to fill out, and you can indicate any health conditions, including food allergies, on that form. That information is reviewed by a member of our nursing team prior to your child starting school. And so if there's anything of note on there, the nurse will connect with families to find out exactly what the needs are. We have food allergies there are many, many food allergies in all of our schools, and our nurses work really closely with the food services staff members in their buildings to make sure that the kitchen staff are aware, and there are safety measures in place to prevent students from taking food that they have an allergy to when they go through the cafeteria line. There are medical documents that are required for us to keep an EpiPen at school, which are, there's a parent consent form the nurse will ask you to fill out, and then we'll need an order from your doctor saying that we can give an EpiPen in the case of an emergency. And then the other thing to let you know is that all of our, we encourage every staff member of Salem Public Schools to go through every year to go through EpiPen training. It's a program that's put out by the Food Allergy Research Group, and our nurses kind of oversee that in each of the buildings.
Great. Laura, I know you wanted to talk about translation and interpretation. Do you want to say something regarding our services?
Yes, I just wanted to mention briefly that while we have amazing programs that are available for students, particularly at the Bentley with the dual language program, students who speak other languages are welcome to join in any of our schools or be enrolled in any of our schools. They will receive supports within those buildings, regardless of the languages that they speak. However, for families, there is information on the application that will allow for you to let us know as a district if you are in need of services of translation and interpretation. And Salem Public Schools has incredible an incredible translation and interpretation coordinator, and also a lot of bilingual staff members that are part of programs that can provide those translation and interpretation services. Should you or anyone from the public need it once they are in our buildings and are looking to either meet with an educator or connect through different avenues, that be through Zoom or by telephone. So translation and interpretation services are available for our families within the Salem Public School District.
Great. A couple of other questions I see here that I want to quickly address. Do our schools have video cameras? We have exterior cameras throughout our buildings. The only schools that have interior cameras, and by that I mean in the hallways and the common areas, not in classrooms, are Collins Middle School and Salem High School and New Liberty High School and Salem Prep. We do not have cameras in main hallways and interior cameras in our other buildings. And so in this case, we're talking about elementary schools. We do not have them inside. We have them on the exterior. There's a question here about school choice. That means choice from outside of Salem. We for families that want to send their kids who may live in another community, Peabody, Danvers, Beverly, and want to come into Salem. We do offer school choice in kindergarten and up. We do not have school choice in pre-K. That is not an option. So if you don't live in Salem, you don't have access to pre-K in our model. Let's see. I just want to. There's a question here about. There's another dual language question here. How do parents get help a child in the dual language program if the parents don't speak Spanish? And is there a transition for students who graduate, or hopefully they don't leave the dual language program once they start? We want them to stay. But can you, Liz and Andre, speak to those two questions?
Liz, do you want to go first? How would you like to do this?
Sure, I'll go first and then you can add on anything I miss. I love the question about transitioning for students who take dual language and graduate out of the program. That hasn't happened yet. This is our 4th year of the program. So we started with kindergarten in 2020 and we have added a grade each year and we're up to 3rd grade. So that's exciting. And I know that there are people talking about what's happening after kids leave Bentley after 5th grade, and there's potential for, continuing dual language or language options when they get to middle school. So that's a great question that I have that same question, and we'll be, working towards that as we add 4th and 5th grade next year and the year after. The other question about helping your child in the dual language program if you don't speak Spanish, we have a fair number of families that don't speak Spanish, many English speaking, and also other languages. And often they help each other. Our teachers do a lot of working with families, sending resources so that families that don't necessarily speak Spanish or who don't speak English can help their children in both languages. And that's something that we do very well. We're building up lots of resources for families, and we're working really hard to engage families in our schools, to be in the schools, in the classrooms, kind of learning alongside their children. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Andre.
You covered it well. I'll just add about the transition to middle school. So we just announced this recently at school committee. We are pulling together a task force of different educators to help this happen, as well as administrators at the middle school level. And we're also working with our partner district, the Lynn Public Schools, who's also doing the same thing right now. And they're in their 2nd year of looking at what it would look like for students that graduate 5th grade once they enter the middle schools. So we've got a good network, we've got a good partnership, and we're really committed. We want to make sure there's an option for our Bentley students once they graduate 5th grade.
All right. Well, thank you very much. In the interest of time, we're going to stop there. I know other questions came in, and I'm sure there's a million other questions. But as Kate indicated, there's multiple opportunities to get your questions answered. We have an upcoming session on February 8th, the meet and greet at 5:30 at Collins Middle School. Then there's an invitation to tour the schools from March 4th through 15th, and you'll see those dates posted. There's also the opportunity to come at any time or call our Parent Information Center to answer questions that you might have about the lottery process or the application process or individual questions you have about schools. I just want to remind folks again, if you have a pre-K student in the Salem Public Schools already, you still have to apply and fill out an application. You are not automatically given a seat at the school that your child's at. And that we had a little bit of that confusion in the past, since pre-K is very new here. We just want to make sure that you remember that you still have to apply to the school, and it's not automatic that if your child's at Horace Mann or if your child's at Bates, that you're going to stay there for kindergarten. You have to apply. And that's why it's important that you get your application in as early as possible before the first deadline. Again, Yadi, is before the first deadline.
So for the sibling preference is February 26th, and then batch 1, March 18th.
So March 18th. Sibling preference is February 26th, and March 18th for the first round if you don't have sibling preference. So I just would encourage you to ask as many questions. I know this is overwhelming. There's a lot of information, but I promise you all that it will work out. We have excellent programs. We're very fortunate to have very strong choices. I don't think you can make a bad choice. I don't want anybody losing sleep. It's often the parents that lose the sleep, not the children, who are just really excited to come to school and be in big kids school. And we are so excited to welcome them and have them come through the doors in the upcoming months with school starting. Our first day is September 3rd for the upcoming school year. For all, I can't believe we're talking about next year. That's for the big grades. We're still trying to, and then kindergarten and pre-K will start a couple of days after that. But we're very much looking forward to working with your family, and we look forward to seeing you at the upcoming tours and information sessions. Thank you for joining us here tonight. We'll make sure we post this information, this webinar and the slide deck from tonight, so you can access this in the future. We wish you a very safe, healthy, and warm evening and rest of the week. And so thank you again for choosing to learn more about the Salem Public Schools. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.